Hi folks, welcome to Edge Parts and Performance, Methanol Madness, and what a huge weekend of racing it really was at the Racecourse Hotel and Motor Lodge Ruapuna Speedway. No AJ tonight, he's recovering from a couple of days commentary, but we've got Louise Smith in the studio. Welcome Louise, good to see all those midget car races at the track in the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really fun couple of events to be a part of, so I'm really looking forward to highlighting some of those tonight.
Lots to talk about with plenty of reviews and a few other things going on, but as usual we'll go with the crash of the week, and of course this is brought to us by KH Fabrication. If you break it, he'll fix it. And let's have a look at this, Louise. This is one of the midget heats, and if we look at the 71A car, which was Alec Inslee, gets off to a pretty good start there in second, starts to put his foot down and just hits a rut, and it all goes wrong.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate events for Alec. It's a real shame. They put in a lot of effort to coming down. It was only a couple of years ago that we saw him down in the quarter midget as well. So really tough end to his weekend right here. Yeah,
that yellow car was pretty fast, but catching that rut there really sent shockwaves through Alec, and he actually cancelled his racing the very next day. The car was repairable and raceable, but certainly precautions taking priority here. We get a close look here of that car, and there was a big rut there that right rear struck, barrel rolled a couple of times, but we do see Alec getting out of the car afterwards and walking to the infield under his own steam. So certainly one of the bigger crashes that Alec's probably taken. So we were really lucky to get all our racing in. We had a couple of big events that were causing all sorts of issues. The first one was transportation of our Auckland drivers coming down. The straights weren't accepting any domestic sort of bookings, but it was Lionel Smith, again, who saved the day for us, using Straight New Zealand to help us get the cars down and save the weekend of racing. So that was good to see. And we had some local help, the likes of Steve Duff, Kirk Hawkins and Kevin Clive, helping do the transportation of those cars to and fro from the track. It always happens this way, doesn't it, Lou? We get pretty stuck, but the Speedway family seems to help out always.
Yeah, and I think that's what the whole weekend was about, just showcasing how good the Speedway community can be. It sometimes gets a lot of backlash, and that's understandable too, but I think for the most part, you know, the way that everyone banded together really showed how important the Speedway family is.
Yeah, it's an unusual sport. It does this all the time, and people are always willing to help. The other event that was causing us all issues, if you were there on Friday night, was it started raining about an hour before the event, and we all thought it was going to be cancelled, but Rob Roxburgh decided just to wait to the very last moment, and wouldn't you know it, the sun came out, the track cleared up, and we managed to get the racing. So we were really pleased to get that sorted out. It had all sorts of implications for the next day and Ellesmere's event on Sunday, but as it turned out, it all worked out well. So look, what we might do now is take on the Pro Bend review of the weekend, and the first class we'll look at, Louise, was the quarter midgets. There was lots of highlights here, and we know that Jack Brownlee's won the feature race, Isabelle Clarke second, and Keanu Ware got third, but that was a huge field of quarter midgets.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen that many. It was really cool to have. We had about 6 North Island cars making the trip down, which I know was really special for a couple of them, so I'm glad that they got some good racing in.
And the other feature for the weekend was, of course, Isabelle Clarke's performance. Man, wasn't she great? She won a race, she got second in a feature race, she had a chance of winning a second day feature, but there was a few issues there for her, but she's part of your SN racing team, so you must be very pleased with her.
Yeah, she is. It was a really good weekend of results for all of the kids, but especially Isabelle, so I'm really glad that she had some good racing that was put on, especially battles with some of the Aucklanders.
Well, we've got Isabelle joining the show now, and we welcome you aboard. Isabelle, your racing's really improved recently. What do you put that down to?
I've had a bit of help from ex-quarter midget driver. They have helped a lot, and I've just been putting lots of effort into figuring out how I should be driving the car and getting it to be the quickest it can be, and fixing my lines and getting all of that sorted.
Well, it's been very obvious to the crowd that you're going very well. I made a note here that you actually won a heat race on Friday night. I think that may have been your first heat race win at Ruapuna, is that right?
Yeah, it was, and I was stoked to have that heat win because, yeah, my last season in quarter midgets, it's been a long time coming.
You won a heat race there, Isabelle, and then you went on to the feature, and I was really impressed. You got second in that feature race, and the thing that was most impressive to me is that you got past Keanu Ware, who's the hotshot quarter midget driver from Auckland. What did it feel like to do that?
I was stoked. So I had some really good racing with him the whole night, and I had faith in myself, and I knew I could do it. So just had the confidence to do it, and just so happy I pulled it off.
Well, the racing got better the next day as well, and the fans that were at the track got to witness the Clarke family doing a 1, 2, 3. I bet your whole family was pleased with that. I think it was Jackson took out the win, you were second, and your sister was third. I'm sure you were all high-fiving in the pits afterwards. That was quite a moment.
Yeah, we were all so happy. I managed to put in a last corner pass on Brooke. I did contemplate not doing it, but what's the fun in that? We're all competitors at the end of the day. So, yeah, just it's always really fun to battle with my family, and coming out with a 1, 2, 3 finish is always awesome.
Oh, it was brilliant, and your car certainly had a lot of pace in it. That was obvious to everybody. And it got better again. You even won another heat race on the night. You took that out fairly convincingly. And of course, that built you up to this great feature grid draw of Grid 1. And we all talked you up a wee bit, and we thought you had a great chance of winning the feature. But you had some unfortunate issues with the car. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was super happy to be starting the front row of the feature. I thought I had a really good setup for winning it, but unfortunately my ignition box, something happened to it and just didn't go off the start, and just lost my chance, dropped all the way back to 13th and finished there. But yeah, that's racing and happens.
Well, I'm sure it was disappointing at the same time, but we certainly all witnessed how good you were driving that quarter midget, and it was certainly impressive to see. Look, Isabelle, thanks for joining the show here. We'll continue on a wee bit now, and I think we'll all look forward to when you're going to be racing next. Will you be racing at the 1st of April meeting that Ruapuna is having?
Sure will be.
Good stuff. Well, look, folks, that's Isabelle Clarke, one of 3 kids that race from the SN Racing team, and Isabelle realising all her potential at the moment, and almost took out a feature race, but certainly took out some heat races, which was great to see. We said it before, Louise, you're a part of the SN Racing team. What was the vibe like afterwards?
Yeah, we were all pretty stoked. I mean, the results leading up to the feature were really cool. Obviously not quite what we were after, but we were still really happy, and it's a great team environment to be a part of. So whatever we can do to kind of lift everybody up is what it's all about.
Good stuff. Well, the next class we'll look at on Friday night is the TQs, and Louise, this is your area. Tell us what the results were.
So it was actually a really, really cool race, and the format of the BT30 is really unique. So it sees the fastest qualifier starting off the back, and each driver gets to pick who starts next to them, which is obviously really unique and something that we don't see very often, especially in the South Island. So it was Regan Tyler that picked up the win, he was driving for the Thompson family from Greymouth, which was really cool. Royden Crawford came second, and third went to the 52N of Jonty Austin.
Yeah, all out of towners taking out the BT race for mates in the TQs. Aaron Humble, a DNF, surprising the NZ1 title holder, didn't feature up there, but obviously a few issues with his car. Royden Crawford, just a shout out to Royden. He had a terrible tumble at Ruapuna the last time he was down, but a great result to get second. And Jonty Austin, certainly one of the best Nelson TQ drivers around as well. The next class we'll look at is the modified sprints, and it was Jaden Fraser all the way up from Invercargill. Jaden's doing plenty of travelling these days, and he took out the feature race from Harry McIntyre and Courtney Jones. We also seen Jamie Duff driving a modified sprint that night, Louise.
Yeah, it was definitely really cool. We kind of saw Jamie Duff kind of show up in quite a few classes this weekend, so that was really interesting. And
Jamie Duff doing a sub 15 second lap in that modified sprint. He used to race them many years ago, actually. It was his stepping stone into the midget. It was both him and Steve Duff Jr. used to race modified sprints. They were pretty good pedallers back in the day, and Jamie certainly didn't miss anything when it came to modified sprint racing. The next class we'll look at is the BT for Mates midget car feature, and this was a pretty good race. Louise, what did you make of it?
Again, the format really, really unique. A lot is dependent on time trials, so I thought it was fantastic, and I was really happy with the results, actually. I thought that they all put on a great show.
So yeah, 54A, Michael Pickens taking out the BT Race for Mates. He's taken it out 2 years in a row. 10A, Brad Mosen and Hayden Guptill taking out third place there. It was a great result for the North Islanders. Well, we'll move the review on to the second day, and of course that was the Seamount New Zealand Midget Car Grand Prix. That was the feature, but we'll start with the quarter midgets again here, Louise. Keanu Ware really showed his skill in the quarter midgets, and there was a couple of other placings there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was another really good night of quarter midgets. The field hadn't dropped any, so we're still dealing with massive numbers, which is always awesome to see and definitely nothing to complain about. But Keanu was definitely keen to better his result from Friday night, so it was really cool to see him take out the win, with second going to Jackson Clarke and third Lucas Smith.
Yeah, it was a great run by Keanu, as Lou talked about. A pretty good lap time there, 18.95, anything under 19 seconds for a quarter midget. And just remember, they're only 200 cc's with about 20 horsepower in them, so pretty good lap time there for Keanu Ware. The next class we'll move on to is the V6 wingless sprints, and man, there was some showtime stuff going on here, Louise. What do you make of it?
It was definitely a very interesting feature race, that's for sure. I know that there was a couple of people that were slightly unhappy and a couple of people that were very happy with the results, so it was always cool to see a little bit of drama play out.
So what actually happened, folks, is Andrew Marker squeezed his way into the lead about 2 laps out, and he really did what most would call a Kirk Hawkins move and did a tap to pass. And this time the referees actually disqualified him, or actually put him back 2 places. So there was chaos after the feature race. Andrew Marker, of course, went past the line first, and it was Kirk Hawkins that pulled into victory lane. So nobody knew what was going on. Kirk Hawkins really hammed it up, certainly played up to the crowd, and it was a great sort of piece of theatre in Speedway. And the official results were 11C Kirk Hawkins taking out the win, 5C Matthew Phillips, another good result by Matthew, and Andrew Marker being relegated to third place. Some pretty good lap times there. Andrew Marker getting fairly close to that lap record again, 16.07, 15.85 is the lap record, and I'm pretty sure that's likely to go when they have their rumble coming here in a few weeks, Louise. So the next class we'll move on to is the midgets, and of course it was the New Zealand Grand Prix sponsored by Seamount. Wow, some pretty good racing here, Louise. Michael Pickens took it out again, Brad Mosen, a similar result to the BT Race for Mates, and Campbell Stewart taking out third place. He's a pretty good driver as well.
Yeah, I think coming into the weekend, obviously everyone's strong picks were Michael Pickens and Brad Mosen. They're so quick in the North Island, it's hard not to pick them, but definitely those BSL cars with Guptill on Friday night and then Stewart on Saturday night was really cool to see them get podium placings.
Okay, time to move on to the sprint cars, and it was the sprint car Summer Slam at Ruapuna on Saturday, and it was great to see Jamie Duff return to racing, Louise. He had a pretty impressive performance.
Yeah, I know that the Duff fans are pretty dedicated, so it was cool to see him returning, and with a clean sweep of heat races and the feature as well, featuring that new blue wing was pretty cool.
Yeah, so the official results for the feature race, Jamie Duff, 3NZ, Matthew Leversedge second, and Caleb Bourne taking third place. Joining the show is Jamie Duff, and Jamie, really good to see you on Saturday night, mate. We know you had a very short retirement there for a couple of weeks. Tell us about the sprint car racing. It must have been great to get 3 out of 3.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Had a bit of a change in team dynamic over the last month, and it seems to be working, so hopefully we can stick at that for the rest of the year.
Well, it was so impressive, mate. Nobody could get near you. That 19C car with the new sponsors, Mag and Turbo, on the side was really flying. Did the car feel like it was on top of the dirt pretty good? I mean, what was your confidence like?
Yeah, like I spent a lot of time on track, obviously, a bit of double duty, so it gave me a bit of insight before I got out there, but the car was fantastic. The boys just did a great job. Nothing fell off it for a change, which was a real positive. And we managed to finish all 3, which we haven't been able to do for quite some time.
Yeah. Well, I know you were disappointed at the New Zealand title, but great to see you racing the sprint car again. And of course, it was obvious to everybody you got into a midget. What a meeting to get into a midget. How did that all come about?
Yes, well, it was going to be an easy weekend, a quiet weekend, and get back into the groove of the Speedway life style. and the phone rang on Wednesday, and Tom asked me if I'd run his midget on the Friday night because he has an unfortunate rib injury, and that just sort of snowballed into the whole weekend. But yeah, what a great opportunity for me to sort of experience a new class and a great team to be involved with, great gear, a lot of knowledge. Just all around fantastic weekend.
Well, I remember speaking to you in the pits, and your words were, don't expect too much. I've never driven a midget before, but no sooner had you said that, you got into the time trial and qualified third. So it was pretty impressive. That car looked like it was on rails. Tell us about your first experience in a midget. Did it put the frighteners up you?
Well, it's really a testament to Tom's knowledge, like local knowledge of the track and the car and the quality of the car. You've got to have good gear to be able to do that sort of thing and be up the pointy end like that. And I guess I've done enough laps around Ruapuna to figure it out reasonably quick. But the midget was the drivability's 10 times what a sprint car is. Like, there's so many more options when you're racing. A lot of fun, but the speed, nothing we ever compared to a sprint car, but just a whole different discipline. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I reckon you surprised everybody, because as much as we know you as a great sprint car driver, it's very difficult to change disciplines. And I know you got into the modified sprint as well, which you used to race many years ago. But just a reminder for all your fans, you got third in the heat race, which qualified you straight away for the BT for Mates, I think it was. Then you actually got fifth in the feature. So it wasn't a fluke, mate. You managed to stitch together quite a few good laps.
Yeah, we did get lucky as well. Like, a few good cars fell off. Better to be lucky than good some nights, and that was one of those. But again, like, a lot of it comes down to Tom's knowledge. Like, he was really good to work with. The effort and thought he put into those setups and the car it gave me, I couldn't ask for a better first night.
Yeah, always good when a car's going well and you feel pretty comfortable in it. And it was just staggering that you were racing in two high-quality midget events and managed to do a pretty good job of keeping the Duff name alive for midget car racing. The second night wasn't so good, but you got fifth in your first race. Not so good in that second one, but you got second in the B main, so you qualified pretty easily for the New Zealand Grand Prix. And 11th in the New Zealand Midget Car Grand Prix with some pretty good drivers in front of you. It must have been a hell of a weekend.
Yeah, no, it was good. We seemed to get better later in the features, and we struggled at the start both nights, to be honest, and picked a few cars off later on. I don't know. It's just one of those things. The more laps you do at Speedway, the better you get. It's all experience. And yeah, it was fantastic. It really is. And I can't thank Tom and his family enough for the opportunity.
Well, the obvious question is, would you buy a midget?
The budget doesn't really allow to buy one, but I'd definitely be keen on jumping back in one if someone will give me the opportunity. But I know stuff like that few and far between, so that's why we make the most of it when we do get the chance.
Good stuff, Jamie. Hey, look, great to see you back at Ruapuna and getting a few of those gremlins sorted out. All the bad luck that you've had in, let's say, the last season or two, you certainly got some good luck in the midgets, as you were saying. And thanks again for joining the show, mate. When are we going to see you next at Ruapuna?
1st of April is our next planned event, and Salute to Goody and Gold Cup's going to be a fantastic weekend. I'm looking forward to that. That's where the whole Megan Turbo thing sort of came along. Hayden was excited to see the name flown around the track, and it was ideally for that weekend he's going to be out there and enjoying the show himself. So yeah.
That's great stuff, mate. Always good to get Mag and Turbo on board. They've been great supporters of Speedway for a number of years. So Jamie Duff coming back to Ruapuna. We thought he'd retired, but it was only a brief sabbatical, let's say, Louise. That's great news, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that are really happy to have Jamie back. I think he adds a great kind of talent to the sprint car field in Christchurch, so it's really cool to have him back.
Well, of course, that was the Dalton Sprint Car Summer Slam, and that was the final event for their three race series, and the winner of the series was Connor Rangi, and he's sponsored by Dalton, so they'll be very pleased he's representing them. He got 110 points in total, and Dave Kerr, our Springston flyer, he got second with 92 points, and Matthew Levisage third with 69 points. So the Dalton Sprint Car Summer Slam, a nice wee series that goes in between the War of the Wings and New Zealand titles and a few other things, and certainly created some pretty good racing. Well, look, folks, we just talked to Jamie Duff about driving the Tom Lumsden 9C Midget, and we all know that car is powered by a home-built engine, And after the break, we'll catch up with the designer. The team at Edge Parts and Performance have got safety covered. They're proud stockists of Simpson safety products, helmets, head and neck restraints, harnesses, racing suits, gloves, shoes and more. Simpson safety products provide an unparalleled level of comfort, performance and protection. Come and check out their new range of Simpson suits, lightweight 2-layer SFI approved suits that offers flexibility and functionality all in one. They've also got the Red Devil carbon fibre lightweight racing helmet in stock. XXX chassis are now in stock at Edge Parts and Performance. These outstanding sprint car chassis are winners with the World of Outlaws, proven in Pennsylvania and raced on the bull rings of New Zealand. Edge Parts and Performance, proud stockists of racer-inspired, race-proven XXX chassis and race components. Well folks, it's a big weekend of midget car action and we're here on the BT for Mates first night of racing, and I've come across Angus McCloud. Angus, you're pretty well known for being an engine builder. How long have you been doing the job for, mate?
35 odd years now, I guess. I left school at 15, so 50 this year, so that's the number.
Well, we've got Tom Lumsden's car behind us and we know that Jamie Duff's actually driving that tonight. I thought we might take an opportunity just to have a closer look at this motor that you've built, and can you tell us a little bit about it, mate? It's, what is it, the XB4, and what is it, an inline 4 or something?
Yeah, it's an inline 4, it's Chevy based. We get the cylinder head and valve train components, rods and pistons out of the States, and everything else is made here locally. It's all NC, billet block, yeah.
Come around this way, Angus, we'll have a closer look at this, and Mark's going to follow us around with a camera. So it's sort of tilted over to the side here, I notice. If we have a look at that motor there, Mark, what's the advantage of getting one of your engines versus, let's say, an S-Slinger or a Toyota?
Oh, it's made in New Zealand.
Well, it's you obviously make the whole thing. Are there any components that you bring in?
Yeah, so we've got the cylinder head casting and the valve train parts, rods and pistons come out of the States, out of One Way, which used to be Jones Engineering.
Yep.
And basically everything other than that, crankshaft block, inlet manifolds, rocker cover, all pumps, everything's made here.
Well, we haven't seen hand-built engines for a number of years. We all remember Bob Denson making his engines, and even Paul Denson still racing that car. What's the advantage of doing it by your own standards, mate? What compels you to make an engine?
Probably an ego still, I guess. I'm not racing now, so it's just I'm involved in the sport. You know, my business day to day is the Speedway thing. You know, basically the shock repairs and stuff keeps me busy through the winter time, and the motors through the summertime, and the motors through the winter. So it's just one of those things, I guess. There's lots of people. I build frames and things as well, but it was just like, need an engine. It came about initially, the short version.
Yep.
It's a Fontana based engine initially, and the block cracked, so we had to replace the block, and this is the end result. Yeah.
You got keen and made a new engine, so
pretty well.
Well, look, it's pretty interesting to see this sort of engine. We've watched Tom Lumsden take it out in anger a couple of times, and man, it's got some bloody horsepower, this thing. I know Tom's had all sorts of chassis problems trying to get the handling under control, but it'll be interesting to watch Jamie tonight. It's probably not going to be a fair test for your engine because, you know, it's Jamie's first go on a midget tonight. What's your future plans with these engines, mate? Are you going to keep making them?
Yeah, although we've set the thing up so that we can reproduce all the parts. You know, I do need to sell more of them to recoup some money out of it. It's cost an awful lot to get to this point.
Yep.
You know, the original one's 6 seasons old now and it's run faultlessly for that time. This is an evolution, basically. There's some valve train stuff that's different from the first one. But no, they've come up really good. You know, we know where we're at with gear sets and stuff compared to the Toyota and what have you, and we're probably a little better off in some places and maybe not so much in the other.
Well, give us some numbers. I know it's a bit difficult just poking out horsepower numbers, but I'm sure it's 350 plus. And what sort of revs does it produce?
So it makes just on 380 horse at 8.2. It's starting to roll off. We rev limit them to 8,700, which is USAC deal.
Yep.
They make, this one makes about, I think it was just on 280 foot-pounds at 6,000. So, but it has a nice flat torque curve. It's making about 230 foot-pounds at 4,000 revs. So it's, you know, it's a tractor, it pulls.
Okay, for all our petrol heads, they'll understand all those numbers, but certainly it's a great motor in development at the moment, and we hope that you get a few more on the track. I believe there is at least 3 engines floating around at the moment.
Yeah, there's 3, and then we made a the original one, which Shane Dewars got from Palmerston North, and then we did a run of 3 this time, 2 of which Tom's got one, and the other one's at home on the workshop for sale. If anybody wants one, get in touch.
Well, there you go, folks. Angus McCloud, he's an ex-Ruapuna club member here, and he used to be a great peddler in the midgets and the sprint cars. Good to see his home-built engines making their way on the big stage. And how good is it to see ex-Cantabrian Angus McCloud continuing the tradition of building custom-built engines for midgets. Well, time to move on to the John Ball giveaway. Last week we had a competition. Lou, just remind us how people could win these boots.
So to go into the draw to win this competition from last week's episode, all you had to do was name the driver and number of the John Bull sponsored car. The answer is, of course, Jay Chadwick in the 98C midget, and the winner of that was Sean Harris. Congratulations, Sean. Chadwick Motorsport will be in touch with you to arrange your prize.
Yeah, great stuff, and that midget of Jay's is probably one of the best looking cars you'll see at the track, and great to have John Ball on the side of their car. Well, look, time to preview our next meeting at the Racecourse Hotel and Motor Lodge Ruapuna Speedway, and our next meeting is the 1st of April, and it's the Hydrolink War of the Wings. Good to see the sprint cars returning, Louise.
Yeah, it's been a good couple of weeks of midget racing, but I think that the crowd and a lot of the drivers too will be really looking forward to having the sprint cars back.
Yeah, and I think we'll see Jamie Duff back again, and of course he's in really good form as we've seen on the weekend. And Joel Myers Jr., he's returning from California. There's a bit of a freeze out as far as weather goes in California, but Joel's committed to racing for the rest of the season to try and pick up some points in the War of the Wings and a few other race series that he's competing in. Okay, folks, time to help out a Facebook page. Sliding Around Speedway NZ is a new page that's been formed up by Tara Glover, and she's a great supporter of Ruapuna Speedway, and she's giving away a free double pass to the next meeting, which is the 1st of April, and all you have to do is go to Sliding Around Speedway NZ, like the page, and you'll go into the draw for winning that double pass. So thanks again, Tara, for helping support the Racecourse Hotel and Motor Lodge Ruapuna Speedway. Okay, time for final thoughts, and Louise, what are you looking forward to?
It's been a fantastic season of racing, Craig, and I'm just looking forward to finishing the season on a high. A couple of big meetings coming up still with the sprint cars, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how it all plays out.
Yeah, well, we know the South Islanders really love their sprint cars, and of course we've got the War of the Wings, the Salute to Goody and the Gold Cup coming up, and that's certainly going to finish a very successful season for the Racecourse Hotel and Motor Lodge Ruapuna Speedway. Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for joining the show there, Louise. Good to see Jamie Duff and Isabelle Clarke joining the show, and until next time, keep your foot up it.